Let's talk more about caves and the type of topography that we call karst topography that results in such a system. So we talked about how a cave can collapse in, and when that sort of collapse occurs, we get something that's called a sinkhole, which is an isolated low where there's no way out of it. It's just a low area in the ground. So any water would kind of drain into the cave system from there. And as this occurs over larger areas, we would call that type of topography karst topography. It's very pockmarked with these sinkholes. The drainages are very irregular. Sometimes streams disappear into the ground, which we call disappearing streams, and sometimes they reappear as springs. And these springs are not necessarily associated with aquitards or non-permeable layers, impermeable layers being below, but it's just this irregular cave system where if there's an outlet out of the ground, that water in the cave can flow out of the ground in these areas shown by these springs here. Sometimes if some of these line up, if for example there was a river underneath, an underground river beneath some of these sinkholes, sometimes we can get an entire sort of underground river system collapse in on itself into something called a solution valley. And from the surface, this type of terrain, this karst topography, just looks very irregular. We get a lot of little isolated ups and downs, and we can't really tell where all the downs are. Like that looks like a nice sinkhole there, but what about over here? But the entire terrain looks very, very irregular like this. This is all underlain by limestone, and there are a lot of caves in the system. And this would be an example of a disappearing stream. Sometimes streams just flow into the ground and then become part of the water system, the underground drainage associated with these caves and caverns. So this would be a disappearing stream. And this whole terrain, once again, is very irregular. You know, there's lows called sinkholes, but sometimes they're completely closed off lows like this, and we can actually get lakes developed in them. We get sinkholes draining into caves. We get streams within caves. We get all kinds of different and difficult to map out things going on in the underground system here. But we would just characterize this entire area here as karst topography, and then we would be able to point out some individual sinkholes like this one up here and this one containing the lake here.